Did you choose me tonight?
It was just a game.
How could a harmless party dare lead to divorce papers on my kitchen table? What makes a husband go from silent suffering to serving legal documents in front of your whole family? Can one silly bet really destroy everything, or was it always about so much more? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. I'm Eulalia Vane, and I thought I knew the answer to all those questions. I was wrong about everything. The Velvet Fox was packed that Friday night, the kind of crowd where everyone knows everyone else's business. I should have seen the warning signs right there. But I was feeling good, really good. My hair looked perfect, my new dress hugged all the right places, and for once, I felt like the old me. The me from before marriage, before mortgage payments, before becoming just another suburban mom lost in the shuffle. Eulalia, you look amazing tonight. My friend Jessica grabbed my arm, her voice already slurred from too many cosmos. Remember when we used to party like this every weekend? I laughed, spinning around to show off my outfit. Those were the days, right? Now I'm lucky if I get out once a month. The party was supposed to be a reunion of sorts. Old friends from college, some co-workers, people I hadn't seen in years. My husband David had come with me, though he spent most of the evening nursing a single beer and checking his phone. He taught 8th grade math and had papers to grade over the weekend. Always responsible, always practical. Sometimes I wondered if he'd forgotten how to have fun. David looks thrilled to be here, Jessica said, following my gaze to where my husband sat at a corner table, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. He's just tired, long week at school. I made the excuse automatically, though part of me was annoyed too. This was supposed to be our night out together. That's when I saw him, Jonah Price, leaning against the bar like he owned the place. Which, in a way, he did. He'd been managing the Velvet Fox for the past 3 years. My ex-boyfriend from college, the one who used to make me laugh until my sides hurt, who knew exactly what to say to make me feel like the most important person in the room. Well, if it isn't Eulalia Martinez, he said, using my maiden name as he approached our group. Still breaking hearts, I see. It's Eulalia Vane now, I corrected, holding up my left hand to show my wedding ring. But I was smiling. God help me, I was smiling. Right, the teacher. Lucky guy. Jonah's eyes sparkled with that same mischief I remembered. So how's married life treating you? Everything you dreamed it would be? There was something in his tone, a challenge maybe. Or maybe I was reading into it because I wanted there to be something. It's good, really good. David's a great husband. I'm sure he is. Jonah glanced over at David, who was now scrolling through his phone. He seems stable. The word stung because it felt like a judgment. Stable meant boring. Stable meant predictable. Stable meant everything I sometimes felt trapped by. Ladies and gentlemen, Jessica suddenly shouted, climbing onto a chair. I have an announcement. We're going to play Truth or Dare, just like old times. Groans and cheers erupted from the crowd. I looked over at David, hoping he might join us, but he just shook his head and pointed to his phone. Work calls, he mouthed. Come on, Eulalia, Jonah said, his voice low and tempting. One game won't hurt, for old time's sake. I should have said no. I should have walked over to David and suggested we go home. Instead, I found myself sitting in a circle with a dozen other people, feeling more alive than I had in months. The game started innocently enough. Sarah from my old job admitted she'd had a crush on her boss. Mike confessed he'd never learned to ride a bike. Then it was my turn. Truth or dare, Eulalia? Jessica asked, her eyes gleaming. I felt reckless, giddy with the attention and the drinks and the memories of who I used to be. Dare. I dare you to kiss the hottest guy in this circle. My heart started pounding. I could feel everyone's eyes on me, waiting to see what I'd do. I glanced over at David, still absorbed in his phone, completely oblivious to what was happening. "That's not fair," I protested weakly. "I'm married." "It's just a game," Jonah said, his voice smooth as silk. "A harmless little kiss between old friends. What's the harm in that?" "Yeah, come on," someone else chimed in. "It doesn't mean anything. It's just for fun." I looked around the circle, at all these people I used to know, used to be close to. They were all watching me, waiting to see if I was still the spontaneous, fun-loving girl they remembered, or if I'd become just another boring suburban housewife. "It's just a silly bet," I said, more to convince myself than anyone else. "Just a game." I leaned forward, and Jonah met me halfway. His lips were warm and familiar, and for just a moment, I felt like I was 22 again, full of possibilities and free from all the responsibilities that weighed me down now. The kiss lasted maybe 5 seconds. 5 seconds that would destroy everything. When I pulled back, the circle erupted in cheers and applause. But through the noise, I heard something else, the scrape of a chair being pushed back. I turned to see David standing by our table, his face pale and stricken. Our eyes met across the crowded room, and I saw something die in his expression. He turned and walked toward the exit without a word. "David, wait!" I jumped up, suddenly sober, suddenly realizing what I'd done. But he was already gone, disappeared into the night, leaving me standing there with Jonah's taste still on my lips and the sound of my friend's laughter ringing in my ears. "Don't worry about it," Jonah said, putting a hand on my shoulder. "He'll get over it. It was just a game." But as I stood there, watching the door where my husband had disappeared, I had the sinking feeling that nothing would ever be the same again. I found David in our driveway at 2 a.m., sitting in his car with the engine off. He'd been there for over an hour, just staring at our house like he'd never seen it before. "David?" I tapped on the passenger window. "Can we talk?" He looked at me for a long moment before unlocking the doors. I slid into the passenger seat, the silence between us heavy and suffocating. "It was just a game," I said finally. "You know that, right? It didn't mean anything." David's hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles were white. "A game." "Yes, truth or dare, like we used to play in college. It was silly and meaningless, and I'm sorry you had to see it, but you kissed another man in front of 50 people, Eulalia. In front of our friends, our neighbors. Mrs. Henderson from down the street was there. She teaches at my school." I felt a flash of irritation. "So what? Are you worried about what people will think? Since when do you care about gossip?" "Since my wife decided to humiliate me in public." His voice was quiet, but there was steel underneath it. "Since she chose to kiss her ex-boyfriend instead of coming over to include her husband in the conversation." "That's not. You were on your phone the whole time. You didn't want to be there. You made that perfectly clear." David finally turned to look at me. "I was on my phone because Principal Rodriguez called about the budget meeting Monday. I was working, Eulalia. I was trying to handle my responsibilities so we could enjoy the rest of the evening together." I had no idea my wife was across the room playing kissing games with her ex. The way he said, "my wife," made something cold settle in my stomach, like I was a stranger to him now. "You're being dramatic," I said, reaching for his hand. He pulled away. "It was one kiss. One stupid, meaningless kiss because my friends dared me to. I chose you, David. I married you. Doesn't that count for anything?" "Did you choose me tonight?" The question hung in the air between us. I opened my mouth to answer, but no words came. "I think you should sleep in the guest room tonight," David said. "I need some time to think." "David, please. Just for tonight, Eulalia. Please." I wanted to argue, to make him understand that he was blowing this completely out of proportion. But something in his voice stopped me. I'd never heard him sound so tired, so defeated. "Fine," I said, getting out of the car. "But we're going to talk about this tomorrow when you've calmed down." I went inside and lay awake in the guest bed, staring at the ceiling. This was ridiculous. It was one kiss, barely 5 seconds long, with someone I hadn't seen in years. David was acting like I'd had an affair. By morning, I was sure he'd see reason, but when I woke up, David was already gone. There was a note on the kitchen counter. Took Emma to Mom's for the weekend. Need some space to think. We'll talk Monday. Emma. Our 10-year-old daughter, who must have heard us come home, must have sensed the tension. Now she was gone too, whisked away to David's mother's house like I was some kind of danger to her. I called David's phone 6 times. Each call went straight to voicemail. By Sunday evening, I was furious. He was punishing me, making me sit alone in our house like a criminal, all because of one stupid kiss that meant absolutely nothing. This was exactly the kind of overreaction I'd come to expect from him. No sense of fun, no understanding that sometimes people just need to feel alive. When he finally came home Monday evening, I was ready. "This has gone on long enough," I said before he could even put his keys down. "You've made your point. You're upset. I get it, but you can't keep Emma away from me because you're having a tantrum." David set his briefcase down carefully, his movements deliberate and controlled. "I'm not having a tantrum, Eulalia. I'm trying to figure out how to move forward." Move forward? It was a kiss, David. One kiss. People kiss in games all the time. It's not like I slept with him. Is that the standard now? As long as you don't sleep with someone, anything else is acceptable. You're twisting my words. You know what I meant. David walked to the refrigerator and pulled out a bottle of water. His movements were calm, measured, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. "Mrs. Henderson stopped by my classroom today. She wanted to make sure I was okay after what happened at the party. Apparently, someone filmed your kiss and posted it on social media." My stomach dropped. "What?" "Jessica posted a video on Instagram. Epic truth or dare moment was the caption, I believe. It has over 200 likes. I grabbed my phone and frantically opened Instagram. There it was, a 15-second video of me leaning across the circle to kiss Jonah, the crowd cheering, and in the background, barely visible but unmistakably there, David's stricken face as he stood up and walked away. "David, I had no idea." "The comments are interesting," he continued, his voice eerily calm. "Lots of laughing emojis. Some people saying how lucky Jonah is. A few asking if we're getting divorced." I felt sick. "I'll call Jessica. I'll make her take it down." It's been shared 43 times. Taking down the original won't help much now. I stared at the video, watching myself destroy my marriage in high definition. In the recording, I looked happy, carefree, like I was having the time of my life. David looked like a man watching his world collapse. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know anyone was filming." "Are you sorry you did it, or sorry you got caught?" The question hit like a slap. "How can you ask me that?" "Because you haven't once said you regret kissing him. You've said you're sorry I saw it, sorry it was filmed, sorry I'm upset, but you haven't said you wish you hadn't done it." I opened my mouth to say of course I regretted it, but the words wouldn't come, because the truth was, for those 5 seconds, I had felt more like myself than I had in years, and David could see it on my face. "I want you to stay at your sister's for a while," he said quietly. "What?" "No. David, this is my home too. You can't just kick me out." "I'm not kicking you out. I'm asking you to give me some space while I figure out what I want to do next." "What you want to do? What about what I want? What about our family?" "You should have thought about that before you kissed another man in front of half the town." I felt anger flare up, hot and defensive. "You know what your problem is, David? You're boring. You're predictable and boring, and you've forgotten how to have fun. Maybe if you paid half as much attention to me as you do to your stupid job, I wouldn't need to get attention from other people." The words were out before I could stop them. David's face went very still. "I see," he said. "So this is my fault." "That's not what I meant. You kissed your ex-boyfriend because I'm boring, because I work too much, because I don't give you enough attention." He nodded slowly. "Thank you for clarifying that." "David, please, I didn't mean it like that." but he was already walking toward the stairs. "I'll pack a bag for you. Rachel's expecting you tonight." As I listened to his footsteps on the stairs above me, I realized I'd just made everything so much worse. But I was too proud, too angry, too convinced I was being treated unfairly to take it back. Instead, I called Jonah. "Hey, beautiful," he answered on the second ring. "How's the home front?" "Terrible. David's being completely unreasonable. He's acting like I committed some unforgivable sin." "Seriously? It was just a kiss. What's his problem?" "Exactly. Thank you. At least someone understands." I felt validated, justified in my anger. "He's making me stay at my sister's. Can you believe that?" "Wow, that's pretty extreme. Listen, if you need someone to talk to, I'm here. We could grab coffee sometime, hash this whole thing out." "I'd like that," I said and meant it. After I hung up, I felt better. Jonah understood. Jonah didn't think I was some terrible person for having a moment of fun. Maybe David was the problem after all. I packed my bag and drove to Rachel's house, convinced that my husband was being completely unreasonable and that time would prove me right. I had no idea how wrong I was about everything. Rachel's apartment smelled like vanilla candles and wine, a combination that usually made me feel welcome and relaxed. Tonight, it just made me feel displaced. "He'll come around," my sister said, pouring me a generous glass of Chardonnay. "Men always do. They puff up and get all dramatic, but then they remember they can't live without us." "I don't know, Rach. You should have seen his face. He looked at me like he didn't even know who I was." "Good. Maybe that'll remind him not to take you for granted." Rachel curled up on the couch beside me, her own wine glass already half empty. "Honestly, Eulalia, I've been waiting for you to show some spark again. You've been so domesticated lately." The word stung because it felt true. When had I become the kind of person who got excited about sales at Target and worried about whether the dishwasher was loaded correctly? "It was just a kiss," I said, more to myself than to her. "One stupid kiss." "Exactly. And if David can't handle his wife having a little fun, maybe he's not the right man for you." I wanted to protest, to defend my husband, but the wine was making me feel sorry for myself instead. He barely even touches me anymore, you know? We're like roommates who happen to share a bed. When was the last time he looked at me the way Jonah did Friday night? "See? That's what I'm talking about. You deserve to feel desired, Eulalia. You deserve to feel alive." My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. "OMG, saw the video went viral. You're famous." I showed Rachel the message and she snorted. "Viral? Please. It's got like 300 views. David's acting like you're all over the national news." But when I checked Instagram again, the video had been shared over 100 more times. The comments had multiplied too, and they weren't all supportive. Someone had tagged David's school account. Another person had shared it with the caption, "When keeping it real goes wrong." "Maybe I should call him," I said, reaching for my phone. "Don't you dare. Let him stew in his own drama. He's the one who needs to apologize, not you." Against my better judgment, I listened to her. I spent the next 3 days at Rachel's, growing more and more resentful as David refused to return my calls. Emma texted me a few times, short, confused messages asking when I was coming home. Each one broke my heart a little more. Thursday morning, I was getting ready for work when my phone rang. David's mother, Patricia. "We need to talk," she said without preamble. "Good morning to you too, Patricia." "Don't get smart with me, young lady. I've seen the video. Half the town has seen it by now." My stomach clenched. "It's not what it looks like." "Really? Because it looks like you kissing another man while your husband watches. What exactly am I missing?" "It was a game, Patricia. A stupid party game that got out of hand." "A game." Her voice was ice cold. "And what game were you playing when you told David this was his fault for being boring?" My mouth went dry. "He told you that?" "He tells me everything, Eulalia. He always has. That boy has been in love with you since the day you met, and you just broke his heart in front of the entire town. I didn't mean for any of this to happen." But you did it anyway. You chose to humiliate him. You chose to kiss another man. You chose to blame him for your own actions. Tears started burning my eyes. I made a mistake, okay? I know I screwed up. But David won't even talk to me. He won't let me explain. What's to explain? You kissed your ex-boyfriend at a party and then told your husband it was his fault for not being exciting enough. Seems pretty clear to me. Where's Emma? I want to talk to my daughter. Emma is at school, where she's been getting asked questions about why her mother is kissing men who aren't her father. She came home crying yesterday. The words hit me like a physical blow. Oh, God. That little girl adores you, Eulalia, and you've made her the subject of playground gossip. How does that feel? I was crying now, ugly sobs that I couldn't control. I never wanted to hurt Emma. I never wanted to hurt anyone. But you did, and now you need to figure out how to fix it. If you even can. The line went dead, leaving me standing in Rachel's bathroom, staring at my tear-streaked reflection. For the first time since Friday night, I began to understand the magnitude of what I'd done. I called in sick to work and spent the day on Rachel's couch, scrolling through social media and watching my mistake spread across the internet like a virus. Someone had created a meme using a screenshot from the video. Another person had shared it in a local Facebook group with the caption, "Anyone know this woman? Her poor husband." By evening, I couldn't take it anymore. I drove to David's school, knowing he'd be there grading papers or preparing lessons. I found him in his empty classroom, bent over a stack of math tests, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "We need to talk," I said from the doorway. He looked up, and I saw exhaustion in his eyes. "I'm not ready, Eulalia. Emma's getting teased at school because of me. Patricia told me." David's jaw tightened. "I know. I've spoken to her teacher. This has gone too far. I need to fix this." "How?" He set down his pen and looked at me directly for the first time in days. "How do you fix humiliating your family in public? How do you fix making your daughter ashamed of her mother?" "I don't know," I whispered, "but I have to try." David was quiet for a long moment, studying my face. "Do you love him?" "Who?" "Jonah. Do you love him?" "No, of course not. I barely know him anymore. It was just what? Just fun? Just a game? Just something to make you feel young again?" I couldn't answer because all of those things were true and we both knew it. "I've been thinking about us," David said slowly. "About our marriage. About whether we can come back from this. Of course we can. David, I love you. I love our family. I made one stupid mistake. It wasn't just the kiss, Eulalia. It was everything that came after. The way you minimized it, blamed me for it, refused to take responsibility for it. The way you called me boring when I tried to tell you how much you'd hurt me. I was angry. I said things I didn't mean. Did you? Because I've been boring for years, haven't I? Predictable. Stable. Not exciting like Jonah." I wanted to deny it, but the word stuck in my throat. "I think," David said carefully, "we need some time apart. Real time. Not just a few days at Rachel's." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I think you should find your own place for a while. Give us both space to figure out what we really want." "You're leaving me?" The words came out as a whisper. "I'm giving you what you seem to want. Freedom to figure out who you are without boring old me holding you back. That's not what I want." "Isn't it?" I stared at him, this man I'd married 10 years ago, this good, steady, reliable man who'd never given me any reason to doubt his love. And I realized I didn't know how to answer his question. Maybe that was answer enough. 2 weeks later, I was living in a furnished studio apartment across town, and my life had become a cautionary tale. The video had been shared over 1,000 times across various platforms. Someone had even posted it on TikTok with a remix of "Before He Cheats" playing over it. I'd become a meme, a punchline, a symbol of everything wrong with modern marriage. But the worst part wasn't the strangers on the internet, it was losing my friends. "I can't believe you're all turning on me like this," I said to Jessica over coffee at our usual spot downtown. Except it wasn't our usual group, just me and her, because Sarah, Michelle, and Kim had all suddenly become too busy to meet up. "We're not turning on you," Jessica said, but she wouldn't meet my eyes. "It's just complicated now." "Complicated how?" "My husband is friends with David. He coaches Emma's soccer team. This whole situation is just awkward. So you're choosing sides." "I'm not choosing sides. I'm trying to stay out of it." "By posting that video in the first place? By making it go viral? That wasn't staying out of it, Jess." Jessica finally looked at me, and I saw guilt flash across her face. "I didn't think it would blow up like this. I thought it was funny. I thought David would laugh about it eventually." "Well, he didn't. And now my daughter is getting bullied at school, and my husband won't speak to me, and I'm living in a studio apartment that smells like other people's cooking. Maybe you should have thought about that before you kissed Jonah." The words hung between us like a slap. Jessica immediately looked horrified that she'd said them, but it was too late. "Wow," I said. "Okay, I guess I know where you stand." "Eulalia, I didn't mean—" "No, you did. You all think this is my fault. You think I'm some terrible person who destroyed her marriage for fun. I think you made a choice that had consequences, and instead of owning those consequences, you've been acting like everyone else is the problem." I stared at her, this woman who'd been my friend for over a decade, who'd been my maid of honor, who'd held my hand when Emma was born. "You know what? You're right. I did make a choice. I chose to have fun for 5 minutes. I chose to feel alive instead of dead inside. And if that makes me a terrible person, then fine. I'm terrible." I left money on the table and walked out, my hands shaking with anger and hurt. Jessica didn't follow me. That evening I called Jonah. He was the only person who didn't make me feel like a pariah. "Hey, beautiful, how are you holding up?" "Terribly. Everyone's treating me like I committed murder." "People love drama. They'll find something else to gossip about soon enough." "Will they? Because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be known as that woman who kissed her ex at a party for the rest of my life." Jonah was quiet for a moment. "Listen, maybe we should cool it for a while. This whole thing has gotten pretty intense." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "I mean, people are starting to ask questions about us, about whether there was more going on before the party. My boss heard about it, and he's not happy about the bar being associated with all this drama." "So you're abandoning me too?" "I'm not abandoning you. I'm being practical. This will all blow over, but right now, being seen together isn't helping either of us. It was your idea to kiss me. It was a dare, Eulalia, a party game. I didn't think you'd actually do it." The casualness in his voice, the way he was distancing himself from the whole thing, made me feel sick. "So this is all my fault?" "I'm not saying it's anyone's fault. I'm just saying maybe we should take a step back until things calm down." After he hung up, I sat in my tiny apartment and realized I was completely alone. David wouldn't speak to me. My friends had abandoned me. Even Jonah, the person whose attention had started this whole mess, was backing away now that things had gotten complicated. I called Emma, but David answered his phone instead. "I want to talk to my daughter. She's doing homework." "David, please, I haven't spoken to her in 3 days." "Because every time you do, she gets upset. She doesn't understand why Mommy isn't living at home anymore, and I don't know how to explain it to her. Tell her I made a mistake and I'm trying to fix it." "Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're doubling down on your choices." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means Mrs. Chen saw you having coffee with Jonah yesterday." My heart sank. I had met Jonah for coffee before he'd decided to distance himself from me. It had been innocent, just two old friends talking, but I could see how it would look to someone who didn't know the context. It wasn't what it looked like. It never is with you, is it? "David, I swear to you nothing happened. We just talked." "About what?" About this whole mess, about how it's affecting both of us. So instead of talking to your husband about how to fix your marriage, You talked to the man you kissed about how hard it is to deal with the consequences. When he put it like that, it sounded terrible. But I'd been so desperate for someone to understand, someone to not judge me, that I hadn't thought about how it would look. I want to come home, I said. I want to fix this. I don't think you can. Why? Because I had coffee with an old friend. Because you still don't get it. You still don't understand what you did wrong. You think this is all about one kiss, but it's not. It's about trust, Eulalia. It's about respect. It's about the fact that when your marriage was in crisis, you ran to him instead of me. I wanted to argue, but the words wouldn't come. Because he was right. When everything fell apart, when I needed comfort and understanding, I had gone to Jonah. I had sought validation from the man who'd helped destroy my marriage, instead of trying to rebuild it with my husband. I love you, I whispered. I know you do, but I don't think you know how to love me the way I need to be loved. And I don't think I can keep trying to be enough for someone who will always be looking for something more. The line went dead, and I realized that I'd just lost my husband for good. Not because of one kiss at a party, but because of every choice I'd made since then. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my tiny balcony, looking out at a city that suddenly felt foreign and hostile. Somewhere across town, David was probably helping Emma with her homework, reading her a bedtime story, tucking her in. The life I'd taken for granted, the life I'd risked for 5 seconds of feeling special, was continuing without me, and I had no one to blame but myself. 3 months later, I thought the worst was behind me. The video had finally stopped circulating. People had moved on to other scandals, and I'd settled into my new routine. I had a different job now. The dental office had restructured my position after too many patients started requesting different appointment times to avoid me. I was working at a call center, taking customer service calls for an insurance company. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. Emma was spending weekends with me now, awkward visits where we both pretended everything was normal. She'd grown quieter, more withdrawn, but David's lawyer had assured him that maintaining my relationship with my daughter was important for everyone involved. I was grabbing lunch at a sandwich shop near my office when I ran into Sarah and Michelle, 2 of my former friends. They were laughing about something as they walked in, but their faces went stone cold when they saw me. "Eulalia," Sarah said stiffly. "Hi guys, how are you?" "Fine," Michelle replied, not making eye contact. The silence stretched between us, heavy and uncomfortable. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. "Look, I know things have been weird since the party, but do we really have to act like strangers? We were friends for 10 years. Sarah and Michelle exchanged a look. "Were we?" Sarah asked. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means we've been thinking about a lot of things since that night, about how you always had to be the center of attention, about how you complained about David constantly, but never to his face, about how you flirted with other men when he wasn't looking. That's not true, isn't it?" Michelle stepped closer, her voice low but furious. "Remember Tom's birthday party last year? You spent the whole night talking to his single brother, while David was helping Tom fix his grill. Remember the office Christmas party where you danced with 3 different men but couldn't be bothered to dance with your own husband?" My mouth went dry. Those were innocent conversations, innocent dances. Maybe, but they add up, don't they? All those little moments where you chose someone else's attention over your husband's feelings. "You're rewriting history. You never said anything about this before." "Because we thought it was harmless," Sarah said. "We thought you were just being friendly. But then you kissed Jonah, and suddenly all those other moments made sense. You weren't being friendly. You were being selfish." "I can't believe you're saying this to me. Someone needs to say it. Do you have any idea what David went through after that video went viral? Do you know that kids at school were showing it to Emma, that she came home crying because someone told her mommy didn't love daddy anymore?" Tears started burning my eyes. "I never wanted to hurt Emma. But you did. You hurt her. You hurt David, and you hurt everyone who cared about you. And instead of taking responsibility, you've spent 3 months playing the victim. I am taking responsibility. I'm in therapy. I'm trying to rebuild my relationship with my daughter. Are you? Michelle's voice was sharp. Because last week you told Emma that Daddy was being mean by not letting you come home. You made a 10-year-old girl feel like she had to choose sides. My face burned with shame. I had said that, in a moment of frustration and loneliness. I'd immediately regretted it, but the damage was done. That was a mistake. I was having a bad day. Every day is a bad day with you now, Eulalia. Every conversation is about how unfair everyone is being to you, how you're the real victim here. Do you ever think about anyone else? I stared at these women who used to be my closest friends, seeing the disgust and disappointment in their faces. I think about Emma every day. I think about David every day. Do you? Because you've been seen around town with different men, coffee dates, dinner dates, moving on pretty quickly for someone who claims to be heartbroken about her marriage. I'm not dating anyone, I'm just trying to have a social life. With men. Always with men. Never trying to rebuild the friendships you destroyed, or focusing on being a better mother. Just looking for the next source of male attention. The words hit like physical blows because they were true. I had been going out with men I met online, casual dates that never went anywhere but made me feel less alone. I told myself I was just being social, just trying to move on, but deep down, I knew I was still seeking the same validation that had gotten me into this mess. You don't understand what it's like, I said weakly. You don't know what it's like to lose everything. You didn't lose everything, Sarah said. You threw it away. There's a difference. They left me standing there in the sandwich shop, shaking with anger and humiliation. But as I drove back to work, the anger faded and left only a hollow recognition that they were right about everything. That evening, I called David. We need to talk, really talk, about Emma, about us, about what happens next. Okay, but not over the phone. Can you come by the house Saturday morning? Emma will be at my mother's. Saturday morning, I pulled into the driveway of the house that used to be mine. David had planted new flowers in the front yard, repainted the shutters. The place looked better than it had when I lived there, which somehow made everything worse. He was waiting in the kitchen with coffee and a manila folder on the table between us. You look good, I said, and meant it. He'd lost weight, gotten a new haircut. There was something different about him, a quiet confidence I hadn't seen in years. Thank you. How are you doing? I've been better. Emma seems happy, though. You're doing a good job with her. We're doing okay. She's in counseling, which is helping. The word counseling hit me like a slap. My 10-year-old daughter needed therapy because of what I'd done. David, I want to apologize. Really apologize for everything. Not just the kiss, but everything that came after. The way I handled it, the things I said, the way I made everything worse. He nodded slowly. I appreciate that. Is there any chance? Is there any way we could try again? Go to counseling together, work on our marriage? David was quiet for a long moment, staring into his coffee cup. I've thought about that a lot. For the first month after you moved out, I hoped you'd say exactly what you just said. And now? Now I realize that we can't go back. Too much has happened. Too much has been said. Too much trust has been broken. He pushed the manila folder across the table to me. I filed for divorce yesterday. My hands shook as I opened the folder. Legal documents, custody agreements, division of assets. The end of my marriage, spelled out in black and white. I want joint custody of Emma, he continued. But I think it's best if she stays with me during the school week. You can have her weekends and holidays. David, please. I've thought about this carefully, Eulalia. I've talked to lawyers, counselors, even my pastor. Everyone agrees that this is the best path forward. For who? For you. Because it's certainly not best for Emma. She needs both her parents. She has both her parents. But she also needs stability, and right now, you can't provide that. That's not fair, isn't it? You've moved 3 times in 3 months. You've been on dates with at least 4 different men that I know of. You told Emma I was being mean for not letting you come home, putting her in the middle of our problems. I felt exposed, like he'd been watching my every move. How do you know about the dates? Because we live in a small town and people talk. Mrs. Henderson saw you at dinner with someone last week. Emma's soccer coach mentioned seeing you at the movies with a different man the week before. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm single now. You're still married, Eulalia, and you're still Emma's mother, but you're acting like a college student instead of a 34-year-old woman with responsibilities. I wanted to argue, but what could I say? That I was lonely, that I was trying to feel better about myself, that I needed male attention to feel worthwhile. All of those things were true, but they just proved his point. I love Emma, I said finally. I know you do, but love isn't enough if you can't put her needs before your own. We sat in silence for several minutes, the weight of our failed marriage heavy between us. Finally, David spoke again. I want you to know that I don't hate you. I'm not trying to punish you or take Emma away from you. I just want what's best for our daughter, and right now that means stability and routine. And what about what's best for me? I think you need to figure that out for yourself. You need to decide who you want to be, what kind of life you want to live, what kind of mother you want to be. But you need to do it without dragging Emma through your journey of self-discovery. I signed the papers that day, my signature shaky and tear-stained. As I drove away from the house for what I knew would be the last time as David's wife, I realized that this was really the end. Not just of my marriage, but of the life I'd built, the person I'd been, the future I'd taken for granted. I'd traded it all for one kiss, and now I had to live with the consequences.